This is Ayman Khan here for Boxing Social, joined by the one and only John Pegg over Zoom. John, how are you doing?
All good, mate. Enjoyed a few weeks off since Sam's fight. Obviously, I was down doing the cuts with Isaac Chamberlain, but when you're not the head coach, it's a lot more enjoyable. It's a lot more relaxed. So it's been quite a fairly easy, quiet couple of weeks. Just starting to get our shows back together, but no, good overall.
John, let's get straight into the boxing talk. Then you were in the corner for Isaac Chamberlain. Isaac with a brilliant effort, a brilliant fight, a good matchup it was. Although Isaac didn't get the win, his stock kind of raised in defeat in the eyes of the fans. I mean, how did you assess Isaac's performance against Chamberlain and Bournemouth, against Dylan Smith
Um,
in Bournemouth? Sorry.
yeah. Do you know what? He went in there through no fault of his own. He's only had like 7 or 8 rounds in the last couple of years, COVID, injuries, manager problems, etc. And I honestly thought that Isaac's strengths, which is his explosiveness and stuff like that, was kind of counteracted by how tough and solid and fit Chris Billum Smith is. So he was really, really up against it, but he took his chance. He rolled the dice, uh, and he come out. Even though he come out with a loss, he come out like you say, with his stock raised, with more respect. And I spoke to him. He's got a little fracture. I don't think it's as bad as some of the ones we've seen. I think he's going to heal naturally, fingers crossed. But he passed every single test for me, apart from the test of knowing how to win rounds when you're tired through experience, which Chris did. But, chin test, courage test, fitness, will to win, toughness, he didn't moan. Every single test he passed. The only test he didn't pass was how to take them rounds when it's really hard, really tough, through a bit of cleverness, a bit of experience, and a bit of being there already. And I think he'll be such a much better fighter for that experience. You don't want too many of them, but when you want them, you want to respond the way Isaac Chamberlain did.
Talk me through, then break it down for me round by round from what you saw. Obviously, and if you can, just elaborate on what you know of the game plan going in for Isaac. It seemed like for both fighters, game plan kind of went out the ring after the fourth round because both of them just wanted to exchange and kind of go
You
for
know
it. But
what? I don't think Chris's game plan went out the window. I think he had a really smart game plan of not letting Isaac have room. Because when Isaac had room, his jab was very good. He was getting shots off. When he actually hurt Chris, it was when he had a bit of range. Chris's game plan was to get on top, stay on top, and set a pace that even though he was tired, he knew Isaac would be more tired because he hasn't done it as often, and it's hard to keep up. And Isaac's game plan was to create room, score shots, slow the pace down. But he got sucked into a fight because of his lack of experience. And once you're sucked into that kind of fight, you can't get back out of it. You've got to kind of just go, okay, I'm in here now. I've got to do something with this. And that's, I kind of says to Isaac after one of the rounds, I says, stop trying to box him now. The boxing's gone. You're too tired to box. You're in a fight that, it's took your legs away. You've got to just go with him. And fair play, he did his best to do that. Chris's experience was a bit more, but Isaac had some real moments. Um, I think he hurt Chris in the third round. I think he hurt him at the end of the 12th. He was stunned himself a couple of times, but not to where I thought that, I actually thought in the third round, a bit more experience, Isaac maybe could have got him, but Chris is a great champion. He's very tough. He's very well prepared. He knows what he does well, and he does it well. He don't try and do anything fancy. He does what he does, and he keeps doing it to a high pace and a high level of quality. But no, I had Isaac behind. It doesn't matter if someone's just nicked around; they've still won it 10-9. And Chris was just nicking a few rounds that were crucial. I had Isaac enough rounds behind that by the 11th, I said to him, "You're not winning it on points. Stop trying to outpoint him. Plant your feet. He's as tired as you. It's just he's not showing it, but he is. And I says that you got to plant your feet and take him out here. It's no good kidding yourself. And
mm.
fair play, he responded and he tried his damnedest. That's all you can ask. But no, it's a cracking fight, and I haven't watched it back yet, but I bet it looks really good on TV as well.
I'm even from my angle at ringside, it looked really good. And you mentioned there about Crispin Smith looking like he was hurt at the third and the end of the 12th. From my angle, John, it looked like Chris was ready to slump over, but he
Yeah,
just picked his body back up. Did you feel it was really close in that final round?
yeah. But the thing is, the trouble with the final round is, no matter how much you hurt someone, you got to literally knock them unconscious because they're going to find a way through. When there's a few rounds to go, the body might give up on them and go, I can't do this for another 6 minutes. But when it's 30 seconds, they'll hang on to your elbows, they'll hang on to the top rope, they'll do whatever they got to do. And Chris is a genuinely tough man. But yeah, I think guys that really had him hurt, and I think he hurt him in the third when he stuck his tongue at him. Chris ain't that kind of character, and I thought he's hurt there. But you know, he kind of caught Isaac into a real maelstrom of just letting the shots go, and it suited him better than it suited Isaac, and that's the name of the game. You impose yourself on your opponent. You don't let him impose on you, and he did. He got him on the ropes, and I says to Isaac, if you're going to back up to the ropes and have a row in the middle of the ring. At least you got some room. I says, don't wait till you're backed up, but then to do it because you're doing it in a bad position. I says, do it mid ring. I says, if either box him, but if you can't, meet him head on. Don't wait till you're stuck in a corner and he's leaning on you and he's good at it. But you know, it is what it is. He got his tactics spot on. Isaac's weren't spot on and he got sucked into his fight. And that's why Chris come out with a unanimous decision. But Isaac come out with a lot of credit. You know what I mean? And if you can't get the win, it's nice to come out with a lot of credit and everybody wanting to see you again. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, just two ways I want to take that. Your response there. First of all, have you had a chance to speak to Isaac? You mentioned he had the orbital.
Yeah, I had a chat with him. I had a really good chat with him, and he was really down. But that's because he's a winner. And I just says to him, I says honestly, Isaac, I says you showed things that some world champions have not shown. I says, don't worry about the result. I says, you're showing things that world champions don't show, and that will get you somewhere eventually once you've got the experience to match it. I says, I've seen lots and lots of talented fighters who win titles and win things. But when it really comes down to it, there's only a very small percentage who have got that kind of will to win with a broken eye socket and you know, he's dog tired because he was tired. Chris Billensmith made him tired early, but Chris was tired, but he gambled that he'd be fitter than Isaac. He was, you know, he was very tired. He had an injury on his eye. His nose was bleeding. It weren't all going his way. There was like 3,500 people screaming for him to get walloped. And he's shown me how he responds in that situation. And it was all positive. So, you know, and I said that to Isaac. I says, you passed every test except for the one that was how do you win rounds when you're really tired through experience. I says, but you can only do that with experience. I says, now you've got some. So, you know, there's not really, you know, you're not really a loser in a fight like that. You're someone who's learning to win the next one, basically.
Yeah, Isaac definitely showed a real dog in him. We've seen that dog in him beforehand against fights like Camacho, and now we've seen it most recently with Crispin and Smith. You mentioned that people were very happy watching that fight. Do you manage to speak to any of the Sky brass in terms of them and how they view that fight, especially Isaac specifically, who could end up being on Sky Sports again too?
Yeah, no, I spoke to a few people at Sky and they loved it. They loved it. You know, it's at the moment we're having some TV shows and they're just not great. You know what I mean? They're just the matches are a little bit one-sided, or the people who are in the main events are kind of coasting to wins. And that was, you know, that was Sky really enjoyed it. And that's what happens when you get two good, solid domestic guys wanting to go forward. It's what you see, it's what you get. And Isaac really kind of put himself in the mix. And like I told him afterwards, I says, you've been training at my gym for the last 6 or 8 weeks for your coaches. I said, don't worry about this loss. I said, there's a kid who's been training alongside you who's had to do that 7 times. I says, in worse circumstances. I says, and he's just won the IBO title. I says, so don't worry too much about it. I says, you know, you've been training alongside someone who's done it 7 times and still come through. If you're willing and you're that tough and you're that game and you've got talent and you can punch and I says you will come good as long as you stay willing and you don't let the defeat crush you. You don't let people whose opinion is, oh, if you have a loss, you're finished. You don't let them affect you online and stuff. You just keep aiming forward. You keep getting them wins. And with all the attributes Isaac's got, and he's got a promoter behind him in Mick Hennessy who don't give a fuck about a loss. He believes old school the way I do as a coach. He's got a really good team in him, in Connor and Bobby, who really believe in him. All he's got to do is dust himself off and come again with all the good stuff from that fight, all the experience from that fight, and he'll come good. He definitely will.
Yeah, so I saw you deep in conversation in the aftermath of the fight. I didn't want to interrupt you at the time with Mick Hennessy. Just what was Mick saying about his reaction to the fight also?
Mick says he knew Isaac had just been beat. He says, but he thought the scores was a bit wide. I thought that was a little bit wide, but Chris had won it like clear enough. He just nicked the rounds that he needed to. And he was just, Mick's a caring guy. He was just checking, was he okay in the corner? And I says, Mick, because he says, was at any point was you thinking of pulling him out, with the eye injury and stuff? And I just said no. I said he was so positive and there was no give up in him. There was no worry. There was no moaning. I says, all I was thinking, Mick, was, is Chris tired enough from winning these earlier rounds that Isaac can to pull it out? That's all I was bothered about. I said, because he was showing me all the right stuff. I said, not once did I think, oh, we might have to pull him or, oh, there might be trouble here. I said, he was really positive. So, and Mick was happy to hear that because, but Isaac was tired enough that they had to take him into a hospital to give him a once over and all that. That's how tired he was. But you wouldn't have known in the corner. He gave no indication that we could see he was tired, but no indication that he was mentally tired or he'd had enough. He just wanted to win. The kid's got a real winning attitude.
Just moving away from Isaac now for the moment. Sam Eggington, you mentioned Sam being someone that Isaac can look at and see as someone who's climbed the ladder from losses and come back from defeats. Sam recently captured the IBO title, a bit of a fight of two halves back then, to coin a football phrase in a way. But what stands in the conversation of fights for Sam next?
Well, he's got his mandatory against Dennis Hogan, the Irish lad who's based in Australia. This is a good fighter. Took Jamie Munguia to a really tight decision. Got stopped by Tim Tszyu, but Tim Tszyu is going to stop a lot of people, so that's no big deal. But that's his mandatory. So Sky are looking to do a deal with the Australians to put that on over here. I think Dennis is a good fight for Sam. He's a good fighter. He's had some good wins, but he's very similar to Paulie Malignaggi in that I don't think he's as good as Paulie, in that he's skilled, not the biggest of punchers. He's in the higher half of 30, and he's not taller. He's only about 5'8", and also very similar, even though not quite as old, to Frankie Gavin. Skilled, not a huge puncher, but shorter, so not the hardest to find. And again, I don't think he's as skilled as Frankie. And those are the kind of guys that once they get to 30 plus, someone like Sam with his work rate and his toughness bearing down on you, if you haven't got a real big, huge dig to slow him up, he's hard to deal with. And that's how I kind of look at Dennis. He's a good fighter, but I think it's a good mandatory for Sam, to be fair.
Was there any interest in any of the fighters at the domestic scene? Josh Kelly, a European with Metcalf, or Troy Williamson at the British? Was there any interest for Sam for any of the domestic fights?
If the money's right, maybe. But other than that, he's done it all. Like, there's guys calling him out, but Sam's done it. There's guys calling him out who are holding titles that he held 5 years ago. He wants to go forward. He's got a year left in the game, maybe a year and a half. I don't want him boxing past 30. He's had a hard career. And even though he seems evergreen, he's had a hard career. So I want all the fights he has. He's got his mandatory, and I want some big ones, domestic ones. The British domestic scene is as tough as the world scene. But the money's about a quarter. And these guys are all hungry and coming through. Let them do what Sam's done. Let them get to 40 fights and earn them fights. Like Sam, say he won the British at 21. He won the European at 23. He won all, the WBC internationals and all that at 20. And he won the Commonwealth at 20. What should, at 28, should he be saying to guys who are fresh as anything, okay, yeah, I'll give you the shot that I had to earn so hard. So unless the money's ridiculous, let them fight each other and he'll fight the winner at the end of it. Let them all battle it out how he's had to battle it out. You know, other than that, I want to pick him up big fights. He deserves them now. He deserves big paydays and big fights where, you know, where he's the one who's got everything to gain. These guys, Sam beats them. He's beat a guy who, yeah, they're talented and they're very good guys. But he's beat a guy that's holding a title that he held 7 years ago. You know, if they beat Sam, they've picked up a title they've never had before. They're picking up a guy who's beat world champions, a guy who's had fights of the year. They've got everything to gain and nothing to lose. He's got everything to lose, nothing to gain. They've got to bring something to the table that he's got something to gain, and that's the kind of fights we want. Do you understand what I mean?
No, I get you completely. John, just get your thoughts on something linked to Sam. I've seen that September 3rd, Liam Smith will be taking on former Sam Egerton opponent Hassan Mwakinyo. Your thoughts on that fight?
Yeah, well, you know, Sam fought Liam, and we know what happened there. You know, Liam's a class act. Sam fought Mwakinyo. We know what happened there. But what I will say, we've never made an excuse ever, and we won't. But the Sam that fought Liam was pretty much on his game. The Sam that fought Mwakinyo, he weren't quite right. But you take a fight, you can't make an excuse, because if you take the fight, you've took it. It's no good moaning afterwards. But I really expect Liam to do a real job on Mwakinyo. I really, you know, they're light and day in terms of ability. And if the Sam who turned up for Liam turned up for him, I don't think that result would have been the same. You know, it is what it is. No good trying to say, oh, this, you take a fight, you lose it. That's it. But I do think Liam and the African kid are light years apart. Although if you looked at the two results, it seems like the African kid's slightly better. But trust me, I think Liam does a real job on him. I think it's just light and day between them, and I think Liam will show that, to be honest.
Elsewhere on that card, Shakan Peters finds himself fighting for the British light heavyweight title. British light heavyweight title. Shakan must be happy to get a shot to regain the title he once held there.
Yeah, of course. You know, he lost it to Craig Richards in a really good fight where Craig went on to a world title bid that he'd done really well. And now Shaq's got the chance in one fight to put himself right in the mix of all the big fights. It's a tough fight. Dan Aziz is a great. Yeah, British title fights are meant to be tough. You get an easy British title fight, there's something wrong. They're not meant to be easy. If there's an easy British title fight, there's something wrong somewhere. But I think Shaq's had a nice little run of form. Mick Hennessy brought him back with 3 wins. He's had a bit of a gap. Through not anybody's fault, really. It kind of happens sometimes. At the top level, 6-month gap, it can really happen easily. But he's hitting really good form. He had a great win over Reece Cartwright. He's been getting some fantastic sparring with Ben Whittaker, super talent, Steed Woodall, and a few others. And I think it's falling at the right time for Shaq to pull off a win and set himself up for some massive, great fights, put himself right back in the mix in one fight, pick up a huge title, get Sky really interested, and put yourself in the mix for huge fights. How can you not take that fight? It's there's risk, obviously, but the reward far outweighs the risk. And I think Shaq's going to come good. And, you know, we're fighting the champion, but we're on neutral ground. We're 100 miles from Liverpool. He's 220. So, you know, can't moan. You fight the champion, you expect a lot more to be in his favour. So, you know, we've done a good deal with Sky. So I expect Shaq to show people all the form that he was showing before and after the Craig fight. Craig, top quality fighter who'd done his job, but I expect Shaq to put himself right back in the mix.
A lot of people were talking about Dan Aziz even before his rise to the British title on the scene. What have you made of Dan Aziz's rise to that capturing that title and then defending it as well? Jose Burton.
He's a good, solid, strong fighter. He gets the job done. He's workmanlike. He can punch. Looks to have a good chin. No real weaknesses that we've seen. But, you know, I think the Jose Burton win might have flattered him a little. I think Jose wasn't the Jose that we've seen before. He won a split decision over Ricky Summers after that. And I think if the Jose Burton result was quite as much as it seemed, it wouldn't have been a split decision over Ricky Summers afterwards. But he still got the win. He's still done his job. Solid guy. There's a huge kind of size difference between him and Shaq. I think that might be telling in the fight. But no, you got to give him respect. He's done it the hard way. He's done everything that's asked of him. He's got a good coach. He seems to be on a real good run. But that will make the victory so much the sweeter. Beating a real good quality defending champion. That's why it will put Shaq right in the mix. Because you beat a good quality defending champion and take his title off him, and you've done a real job. So it makes the victory even better when we get Shaq that win.
This weekend, Dalton Smith headlines against Samo Mason for the British title. A lot to talk about, a potential clash down the line with Casey Benjamin. I assume that'll be a fight this weekend that you and Casey will have your eye on.
Yeah, well, Casey and his coach, Louis Cunahan, have been looking at that fight for a long time because we knew Casey was going to end up at light welter, even though he was doing his thing at welter because he had to. There was no opportunities. And obviously, Dalton's the bright star in the UK, isn't he? Especially at that weight. So we knew that fight was going to come about. So I've been looking at it for a long time. But Samo Mason can punch a bit, so you can't underestimate him. That British title is Samo Mason's world title, and he can punch a bit. He's been stopped himself, and Dalton can punch a little bit. So I think Dalton's a strong favourite. But, you can't overlook Samo Mason, but Dalton's a strong favourite. But I honestly believe Casey's beating anybody in the country. Apart from your couple of world class guys, he beats everyone now. In a few fights, he's ready for them as well with a few 12 rounders under his belt. Casey's a kind of a secret that's out there now, but he's still a bit of a secret because people don't quite know. But he's got it all, and he'll be showing that in the next few fights. You watch what he does. He's got it all. I've seen it up close, so it's easy for me to say. But I've seen it. I've seen the change. I've seen. We told Casey you got to start stopping people on TV if you want to stay on TV. He reels off knockout after knockout. He was like someone just flicked a switch and says, "Oh, you got to do this if you want to stay on TV." He's got it all, and people have got to watch out with him. He's still got a lot to show that they haven't seen yet.
River Wilson Bennett as well, someone you work with. He had the rematch with Tyler Denny. It didn't fall in his favour. How's River been, and when can we expect River to be back out?
He's on my show in Birmingham, September the 24th. Don't want to rush him straight back onto TV. It's a lot of pressure on TV that people don't realise, especially for lads like River with a handful of bouts. So I don't want to rush him straight back onto TV off the back of such a hard fight, cuts. And it was a hard, grueling fight for both lads. I had Tyler winning it. Some people had River winning it. But I'll be honest, I had Tyler just winning it. He just got it right on the night. But River massively improved from the first fight. Even though we got a draw in the first fight with a technical decision, River massively improved. And that's the important part. He's been down the gym with me today. His coach is on holiday, so he's been over ours training. River's really hungry, and I think we got a lot more to see from River. But I got him a couple of fights lined up. Once he has him a couple of fights, as long as they go well, we'll see what gets thrown at him from TV because there's no easy routes onto TV. You got to take fights if you want to impress them. So that's why I don't want to just throw him straight back in coming off a loss because you got to get that little bit of real confidence back, and you only do that from winning. You might pretend you've done it coming off a loss, but real confidence you only do from winning. So I got him a show lined up in Birmingham, one in Coventry. Once we get them out of the way, whatever gets thrown our way, he'll take. He'll take, and we'll try and find a way to win. But River's a good fighter, and he's learning a lot, and he'll show that. I expect River to show that early next year, what he's learned off that loss to Tyler Denny. Tyler's done him a lot of good with that because he will learn what not to do, what to do in certain situations. He learns off the first one. But, good luck to Tyler going forward. He's a lovely kid. I hope he picks up the British or something because he's done it the hard way. My kind of guy. And then you never know. Perhaps we have number three. You know, if Rivers had a couple of good wins and Tyler's picked up a big win, we give Tyler a chance on TV. We could have easily dodged that second fight because we knew how hard it was going to be. And a lot of people do dodge them, but we ain't dodging kind of people. So we give him his chance the second time when people would have avoided him because he's a hard-hitting, strong southpaw. So, you know, Tyler goes away, wins a big title. Perhaps he'll give us a chance. You never know. Let's see.
John, what's your understanding of the situation with Mick Hennessy and his fighters? There was obviously the deal with Channel 5, which has been lost, and then Wasserman have taken that. But we've seen now Mick Hennessy working with Boxer and Sky to get his fighters onto Sky Sports. Is that a deal that's going to be like exclusive going forward, or what's the situation there?
Not quite sure, but you know, Mick's had TV deals go south before, as have everyone. You know, one of the things of being a TV promoter, you got to be a survivor. You know what I mean? Frank Warren, whenever people write him off, bang, he pops up with someone else. And Mick's done the same kind of thing. Whenever people have gone, oh, it's all gone wrong, he finds a way. And the good thing is Mick has been very choosy with lads that will take proper fights. And Sky are looking for people who will take proper fights. It's kind of a match made in heaven at the moment. So, you know, the lads are still working with Mick. You know, Sam Eggington says to me, Mick took a chance on him when no one else would, and he's just won the IBO world title. So, you know, he believes in the guys he works with, Mick, and that counts for a lot for me. But yeah, Sky are looking for good fights. Mick's guys give good fights. So, you know, going forward, we'll see. And there's a lot of channels out there. Who knows what he'll pop up with? I mean, Channel 5, I don't know what to really say. We give them the outright fight of the year on the cheapest budget for a TV station. And they changed the deal. And the shows ain't been anything super special. I'm never going to knock anyone because everyone's doing their own thing. But the shows that I've seen so far, because I've been having a look, they haven't been Eggington, Jaquito, have they? You know what I mean? So Channel 5 have kind of snatched defeat out the jaws of victory. You get fight of the year for the cheapest budget and you get rid of it and replace it with just okay fights. I don't know. Perhaps I don't know about TV business, but for me, you've got rid of fight of the year and you've took on not fight of the year. Let's put it that way. Well done, Channel 5. Great business.
John, I'll get your thoughts on a couple of things before I let you go. Lots of talk, lots of rumors. It seems to be dying down a little bit now, but about a potential Conor Benn, Chris Eubank Jr. fight. Your thoughts on that one?
It's a bit of a mad fight, but it'll make them both very rich men. They're both really confident. And, you know, if you pay boxers enough, they will genuinely believe that they can beat Tyson Fury if they're a flyweight. That's a boxer's mindset. If you don't believe that you can win it, you're not a championship level boxer. They both believe they can win it. And, you know, their dads went on some mad gladiator program 20 years after their bout. And it was watched by about 20 million people. And it was like a silly gladiator program with them shoving each other when they got angry. So it'll be a master stroke. You know, literally, I know it sounds mad because the Zone have got like anti-Joshua, blah, 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 all that. That fight could launch the Zone into the big time kind of. It could bring 15 million viewers, not because of the two lads, because they are great fighters in their own right, but their two dads getting involved at the press conference. They was on terrestrial TV for 20 million people. Those people might not have watched boxing in 10 years. When they hear Ben Eubank and the dads are going at it at a press conference, they'll all tune in. Now, if the Zone suddenly bring in ITV's 20 million from 30 years ago, they've only got to keep 20% of them. And they've suddenly trebled, doubled, 10 times their numbers. It's a masterstroke if it comes off. It's great business. One thing you know about Eddie Hearn, he learns off Barry Hearn that you deliver the goods and it comes. You know, I was at a talk show with Barry Hearn the other week. He was on about when he had Bugner Bruno. and he sold out White Hart Lane on his second show. This could be that for the Zone. They could literally bring back all them boxing fans who haven't watched it since the 90s, who remember Ben Eubank, who remember that drama. They're getting the young version fighting each other. They're getting the old version going at it at the press conference and probably having it off at the press conference. They could bring all them viewers back onto the Zone, and they've only got to keep a fraction of them. And they've made it. So that's the business. And the two lads are obviously looking at it, thinking, or one's thinking, I'm 3 weight divisions bigger. I'm a proven guy. I will tech this guy out. The other one's thinking, I'm super confident. I'm knocking everyone out. You know, I've seen welterweights go up to middleweight and do it before. I'm going to take this fucker out. He's past his best. I'm here to do it. They're both confident. It's great business for boxing. And no matter what people say about, oh, they're the wrong weight class, this, that, everybody will tune in that. Everybody will tune into that fight. Everybody. I guarantee you, everybody will watch that fight. Even if they ain't got the app, they'll find a way to watch it. They'll watch it on the mates. They'll watch it on the computer. So business-wise, it's massive. And I don't know whether the negotiations have come to a bit of a halt because there's a lot of big egos in them negotiations. But if it does come off, it's huge. And whoever wins, it's huge for them. It's like a career-defining fight. And the dads will be invested. Everyone will be invested. Be huge. So let's hope it comes off because I'll be watching.
John, let's leave that there. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you so much for speaking to Boxing Social. And we'll...
Sorry for keeping missing you. It's just these people won't leave me alone, but hopefully I'll give you something to talk about when you've eventually did get me on.
No worries, not a problem. That's just boxing for you. I appreciate your time anyway. You give me a lot of your time too. But thanks again for speaking to Boxing Social. Much appreciated.
No problem. Thanks for all the support, man, and I'll see you soon.